Welcome to Flip Lesson 106 for the 6th grade. We're looking at two-step equations. This is really getting us into the early steps of what you could really call algebra. And we can look at this idea today. On the board you see a very simple problem. It says 3n, which means 3 times n minus 4 equals 20. Now, if we think about processes that we've gone through before, if we just looked at this idea, if we had just this concept, we would understand that, okay, if I wanted to solve for this, I'm going to have to do some rearranging to get me to understand what it is that's going on. And in the end, if we were to rearrange this problem real quick, we would understand that this is really going to turn into 20 plus 4 equals n. And so n equals 24. Now we can already use this concept to even get us started already, because we can look at this and we know that if we subtract 4 from 3n, it's going to be similar to our rearranging up here, and in the end we're going to get something like this, right? Because our 4 is going to be added into this just like we added the 4 here. Okay? And from there we're able to solve. We can take 24 divided by 3, right? We can just see that and we can understand that n equals 8. And so we have this concept. And so just by looking at a problem, we're able to mentally think through this and understand what's going on. But now let's talk about what are we actually doing mathematically. We call this the inverse operation, and this is really the steps we want to take just in case the visual just doesn't come to mind. We can say, okay, there are patterns we can follow when it comes to solving a problem like this. So we start by looking at our problem, right? Of course it is the same problem, but let's talk about what we actually did, right? If we use the inverse principle, right, the first thing we want to do is, or the idea is to try and get the g alone, right? And so what we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is let's get the g alone. And so what I literally did was I added 4 to this side, and then I added 4 to this side. And so in the end, I came up with this new idea, right? And so what we're seeing here is we're adding plus 4 to this side, which is going to eliminate this because a negative 4 plus a positive 4 is going to equal 0. But because I do it to the left side of the equal sign, I also need to do it to the right side of the equal sign. And that's where I get the 20 plus 4 to give me my 24. Right? Now, from here, we're going to solve to get g alone. We just want to get g alone to start. Right? Now, to do that, what we see is we see 3 times g equals 24. And so to do that, to get rid of the g, we're going to do the opposite, or the inverse. The opposite of multiplying is dividing. So 3 divided by 3, right? And 24 divided by 3. Because if I do it on the left, I must also do it on the right. Right? Now, what does this actually become when we do this, right? 3 divided by 3, of course, equals 1. So we're really left with 1 times g, which equals 8. But because of our properties, our identity property of multiplication, we know that 1 times g is the same as just plain g. And so we can, in essence, ignore that, and we come away with g equals 8. So what we've done here, what this inverse operation is we do the opposite to the left and to the right to eliminate different things, right? So here, we started by doing the opposite, right? We started with a negative 4, and so to do the opposite, we want to have a positive 4. So we added those two together, which gives us 0, right? But if I do it on the left, I do it on the right. Second step, right? We started with a 3 and a division idea, multiplication idea, which to do the inverse then is to divide to get it to, and then of course we do it to both sides. Right? Talking over myself a little bit in the last minute, but hopefully those steps make sense. that's really what we're looking at here and what you need to be working with as you work through these problems for today is using the inverse operations to solve the problems. So look at the symbols, understand what is the opposite, and perform that action on the left side of the equation and on the right side of the equation. Right? This is our first step in really looking at inverse operation. That's it for lesson 106.